No matter whatever's happened in your life up till now, it should have no bearing on how you live from now on. Welcome back to What's the Point? In this episode, we're going to be looking at the book The Courage to be Disliked. One of my friends was reading this book and I just stumbled upon it by accident. So it wasn't really picked for the podcast, but I loved it and I'm excited to break it down for you all. You know how as young people, we believe that self-help, philosophy and all this is complete idealistic bullshit and we don't actually believe in it. That is exactly how this book flows because you have a young person and you have a philosopher. The book starts off by this young person hearing that there's this philosopher who says that the world is a very simple and happy place. And the young person goes to fight and challenge this philosopher saying, no, you're talking complete nonsense. And in the real world, it's not as simple as you think. And one by one, he asks him all his doubts, questions and problems that he has with his idealistic theories. And they somehow finally arrive at a conclusion. So let's get into it. The young person starts off by saying that the world is actually a very complicated place and it's only simple and happy and all when we're a child and when we're fully protected from the real world. The philosopher then says that it's not the world that is complicated, it's us who make it complicated. The philosopher says that we live in a subjective world that we ourselves have given meaning to, and the world that you see is different from the world I see. The young person now says that what bullshit, we're living in the same world, in the same time, in the same place and we see the same things. The philosopher goes on to explain that, for example, let's say you're drinking water and it's at the same temperature. When you drink this water in the summer, it might feel cold. And if you drink the exact same water, exact temperature in the winter, it might feel warm. Now, the fact that you're feeling the temperature of the water being different is true. It's not an illusion you've created. It's true that the water feels different. That's what it means to live in a subjective world. Like you can't escape your own subjectivity because in the moment, that's how it feels. The philosopher says that a lot of us are seeing the world through dark glasses. And if you see it through like a dark lens, then everything's obviously going to seem dark. As a young person, do you have the courage to take off your glasses and see the world as it is? At this point, the young person says, so you're saying that everyone can change and that change is real. The philosopher is like, yeah, absolutely. And the young person just straight up disagrees. To make this podcast simpler, let's just call the young person youth, okay? So it's easier. So youth says that everyone wishes that they can change, but they can't change. And that's where the issue is. He brings up this example of his friend who's just given up on life, shut himself in a room, and he just simply can't be a useful member of society. And youth believes that everyone today is the way they are because of something that happened to them in their past. So the effect is who you are right now, and the cause is some past occurrence or something that happened in your past. For example, if someone really said something hurtful to you in your past about your looks, then as a result today, the effect is that you're insecure about it. So cause and effect. The philosopher says that if you go by this determinism approach of cause and effect, then your present and your future have already been decided by your past. Then there's no point doing anything today. The psychology that this philosopher believes in is called Adlerian psychology. And according to Adlerian psychology, the past doesn't really matter. Instead of having past causes, we have present goals. Instead of thinking that his friend is so insecure and that's why he doesn't go out, the philosopher says that his friend doesn't want to go out and so he's created this state of insecurity within himself. And I know this is a very problematic statement to say, I'm aware of it. That's what the youth says, like what bullshit, are you just like denying his anxiety and his feelings of insecurity because they're very real. He basically threatens the psychologist by saying, are you basically just denying the existence of trauma in your past? The philosopher says that according to Adler, we aren't determined by our past experiences, but by the meaning that we give them. Basically, we make what we want out of our experiences to suit our goals and our purposes. And therefore, your life is not something that someone gives you, but something that you choose yourself. At this point, the youth is completely losing it. He's like, what the hell, you think my friend chooses to live this way? You think my friend wants this anxiety, insecurity, and my friend wants to be locked up in his room? Believe me, it's not what he wants. He just has no choice. Philosopher says, no, it's his goal to be this way. Youth tells the philosopher's story at this point that he was sitting in a cafe and he was drinking coffee and the waiter spilled coffee on his white shirt and so he yelled at him. And so that's a clear example of cause and effect. He spilled coffee on his shirt because of which he yelled at him. At this point, the philosopher says, no, this is also not cause and effect. He says that your goal was to shout and to make the waiter listen to you because of which you yelled at him. And so now the youth is just pissed and like not listening. He accuses the philosopher, are you basically denying human emotion? The philosopher says that no, I'm not denying that human emotion exists. Emotions exist and everyone has them. But I'm just saying that humans don't have to be controlled by their emotions or by their past. The question isn't about what happened, it's about how you resolve it and what meaning you give it. And the philosopher says that if the past determined everything and the way we are today, it's all decided, then what we do now simply wouldn't matter. Youth decides to play along with his theory now and says, okay, so I have this friend and he's very upbeat, very social, and it's very easy for him to make friends, and everyone likes him. I know how I am, and I think I can never be like him. By your logic that everyone can change and the past doesn't matter today, do you think I can be like him? The philosopher says, no, you can't be like him. The youth is now confused and he's like, you're literally contradicting yourself. You just said that I can change. Instead of answering his question, the philosopher asks, now you said you want to be like your friend. That's your goal. Why do you want to be like your friend? Youth says that I think I'd be happier if I was like him. The philosopher says that right now you're unhappy because you haven't learned how to love yourself. You want to be like your friend and change who you are right now. Youth doesn't even deny this. He's like, yeah, I literally hate myself right now. At this point, the philosopher says that how much ever you want to be like your friend, you can never be like him exactly. But having said that, if you're not okay with you just as you are right now, you can change. But you need to stop trying to be like your friend and focus on what you can do with your equipment and with what you have right now. Youth says that this is basically unfair because some people are born at an advantage, they have better looks, like maybe more wealth, and how is it fair then? There are just some people who are born happier and some people who are born unhappy. The philosopher keeps on saying that no, it's you who chooses to be unhappy. Why don't you get it? Youth is now at the brink of losing it. And he's like, why the hell would I choose to be unhappy? Are you crazy? The philosopher's like, no, it's not just you. A lot of people are okay with being unhappy and have actively chosen to be unhappy. And it's not because they were born into unhappy circumstances or something. It's because to some extent they've judged and they believe that being unhappy is good for them. Youth asks why that is such a weird way of thinking. The philosopher says that earlier you said that you think you can't change your personality, right? In Adlerian psychology, instead of personality, we call it lifestyle. Your lifestyle is basically how you choose to see the world and how you choose to see yourself. It's the tendencies of your thoughts and actions. It's like the way you find meaning and it's your view of the world. If we use the term personality, it's something that's hard to change and can't be changed. But your lifestyle can change and it's something that you can actively choose. In Adlerian psychology, your lifestyle is something that only you can choose yourself. Now youth says that, so you're basically saying that not only have I chosen to be unhappy, but I've also chosen this warped personality of mine. Why would I choose to be this loser who just can't, be social and be normal? Now the philosopher says that obviously the first choice wasn't a conscious choice. You were influenced by your upbringing, by your family, by your surroundings. But after a point, it was you who could actively choose your lifestyle and the way you see the world. Now youth says that, okay, let's say I chose this, subconsciously or consciously, what can I do about it now? The philosopher says that if your lifestyle is something you choose and not something you were born with, then you can choose it all over again. No one can choose where they were born, which parents they were born to, but you can let it end there. What you do after that is your responsibility. Whether you keep buying into that lifestyle and whether you keep choosing that lifestyle is fully up to you. It is like, okay, fine, I get it. So how do I change? How do I choose again? There's no way I can just change like this on the spot, right? Philosopher is like, yes, you can. But right now you're choosing not to. Youth says that don't you see how illogical your argument is? I'm literally telling you I want to change. I just can't. The philosopher says that even though right now there are some inconveniences that this lifestyle is causing you, you feel that overall it's easier to stay this way. It's like driving an old familiar car which is slightly broken. Even if once in a while it makes some noises, you know how to fix it and you know how it works. If you choose a new lifestyle, then you can't really predict what will happen and then you're getting into the unknown. Youth says, okay, so you're saying that I can change, but I'm choosing not to because it's scary. The philosopher's like, yeah, you finally get it now. Changing your lifestyle is essentially putting your courage to the test. There's a certain amount of anxiety generated with changing and a certain disappointment generated with not changing. And most of us happen to choose the latter, which is just the disappointment of not changing. The youth's like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. Now give me some real measures. I'm done with your theory. Tell me what can I actually do to be happy? The philosopher goes, first thing you need to do is stop your current lifestyle. Earlier you said that you wanted to be like your friend and then you'd be happy. As long as you keep thinking this way, you'll never be happy. Because saying, if only I could be like my friend, that is your excuse to not being happy. Philosopher tells youth the story of his friend, that his friend is a writer, but he's very scared of putting his work out there. He keeps procrastinating on his manuscript, saying he's too busy or he doesn't have the time and this, that. And 10 years later, he's going to say he's too old, he should have done it before. And basically, his friend keeps coming up with excuses to not submit his manuscript. He basically just doesn't want to expose his work to criticism and wants to stay in the bubble that if only I tried, I could do it. Let's say he submits his manuscript and gets rejected. Either way, he'll realize that maybe writing is not his thing and he can finally move on. but he's too scared to make that choice and change his lifestyle. Youth says, yeah, but it's tough to just like accept that you're not good enough. The philosopher is like, yeah, I said it's possible. I never said it's easy. If you change your lifestyle, which is the way that you give meaning to yourself and to the world, the way that you interact with the world and your behavior, both will change. No matter whatever's happened in your life up till now, it should have no bearing on how you live from now on. The you living here right now, listening to me on this episode, is the only one who determines your life. Finally, youth understands this concept and he's like, okay. And this is when the book takes a pause and he goes back to reflect on whatever has been said so far. So the main point of this part of the book is that our lifestyle, which is the way that we look at the world and the way we look at ourselves, is something that only we can choose and we can change. And everything in our past has no consequence in how we choose to live from now on if we let it not affect us. And it's hard, it takes courage, but it's possible. So yeah, it's a very, very detailed and long book, guys, and I wanted to make it fun and conversational, which is why these episodes are slightly longer, and I'm gonna make multiple episodes of this book. But I hope you enjoyed the episode and it made sense to you, because I really love the way that, you know, the back and forth banter and conversation goes, because then it's not like theoretical, but it actually makes sense. Okay, yeah, this works. So yeah, I hope that you liked the episode, and I will see you guys in the next video where we'll continue where we left off.